I get so into that song. That's my favorite song for our live streams. And then right now, because I have a very special guest on with us today, if I tried to sing, you would actually hear me. And this is a true story. I know I've talked about it before, but in my former career, before I started writing mysteries, I was a speech therapist. And I worked in early intervention with little guys, birth to 5, and they would plug their ears and tell me to please not sing because I sing so off key, it's not even funny. It's so great to see everybody this morning. Thanks for being here with me for another 5 Things Friday, the live edition. We are starting back up 5 Things Fridays, and I'm going to be doing them live every Friday at this time. And I have invited some of my favorite author friends to join in the fun, and I'm super excited to kick off today's live with a writer who has been such a mentor to me over the years. And I think one important myth that I know that I've talked about before, but I want to talk about this with my guest today too, is that I think sometimes there's this perception that writers are really protective of their ideas and super competitive. And I have found the exact opposite to be true in the mystery writing community. And maybe this is just unique to mystery writing. I don't think so, but maybe it is. But when I first was starting out my career, I was really just blown away by how welcoming fellow authors were. They invited me in for guest posts on their blogs and shared information about my book. And there's such a community spirit amongst mystery writers, which is so true for my guest today, who is, you all already know, Daryl Wood Gerber. Her new book, get ready for it, A Sprinkling of Murder, just came out last week. We had a book birthday together. We both had new releases on Tuesday, and I wanted Daryl to come up to Ashland. I saw Diana commented earlier about fairy gardens. Ashland in real life has magical fairy doors all around town. They're these cute little doors hidden in in the side of shops and in doors, like a door within a door of a shop. And there's a map that you can get if you come visit Ashland, especially for little kids, and they can go find all the fairy doors, and then they get a little magical prize. So I cannot wait to talk to Daryl today about all things writing and mystery and her new book. So welcome, Daryl.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thanks so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. This is a new thing to go side by side and share a conversation.
I know. So it is true from my perspective, and I think you embody this so well. You are such a champion for mystery writers in general. Do you think that that's unique to this genre?
No, I've got a group that I work with. We're called the Plot Hatchers, and we all share ideas. When we get a little stuck, we might say, gee, I'm trying to come up with either a good name, a good title, a good way to kill somebody. I need a character that can't be this old, can't be female, has to be blah, blah, blah. So we'll work together to help each other when we get snagged. But I think that a lot of mystery authors work in a vacuum. We do work, we're very private people. We like to sit at our desk. We like to be creative. And so when we get out and see our fellow mystery author friends, we talk about the business. We talk about what we can do. I remember meeting you at that luncheon.
Yeah.
Was it like Long Beach? It was someplace. We were sitting at a table, and you had just come up with your first mystery, which was fabulous. And we talked like we were old friends.
Totally.
That's something that I think is wonderful in the mystery community. I don't know if it happens in the romance community. I don't know. But
how can we find out?
Yeah, but I think that the mystery community is very welcoming, and we know that there are a lot of mystery readers. They're voracious, and so they're going to read your book as well as my book.
And we want them to, right?
Just by mine. I mean, there are a lot of mysteries out there, but they read them, like one a week. So they have to have a lot of mystery authors.
That's right. I know. I was just saying that to somebody last night because it's like that idea I know for myself. And I think the other thing is, as writers, we are readers first and foremost too.
Right.
But it would be ridiculous to be like, okay, my book just came out, so you're going to read it in 2 days. Don't read another one for 6 months. Like, who would do that? No, of course not.
No. They're going to buy all 7 that came out that week, and then they'll put them on their shelf. and they'll read them as they come up, in the to be read pile on their by their bedside.
Absolutely. That's so true. I'm so curious. Tell us in the comments how quickly you usually devour a cozy. That's what I want to know from everybody who is here on the live with us. Okay, before we get into 5 things and my questions and other stuff, tell us a little bit about the new book.
Well, okay, so the new book, A Sprinkling of Murder, is set in Carmel by the Sea, California. So, like Ashland, Carmel is a very magical place. It's spiritual to me. I spent a lot of time there as a girl, and I find that it is soothing with the water and the beautiful cypress trees, and it has a gorgeous little village, and the village is almost dollhouse in its presentation, and it's got courtyards that are filled with the courtyards they have secret hidden passages, which actually plays into my story. So I set it there, and then I created this world around the possibility that there might be fairies. I don't know how many people, believe in fairies, but you find things all the time, and it's like, who put it there? It might have come from a fairy. So this is outside my comfort zone. I'm known for culinary mysteries.
Right.
And culinary mysteries being about food, like you are. We write food. But for me to go to something that is paranormal, and paranormal to me means ghosts and scary things. But there are mysteries even with skeletons. That's fabulous. And so I read those. And so I thought, well, gee, I've always wanted to write about a fairy. I know that sounds so silly. But Fiona is a righteous fairy. She'll be one of my top 5 things to tell you. But she's a righteous fairy, and she's been booted out of fairyland. And she has to make good in order to get her adult wings and to be welcomed back into the fairy world. So that's where I started. And I came up with this because I went to a Renaissance fair and I fell in love with fairy gardens. Now, for anybody that's been to a Renaissance fair, people wear costumes and there's lots of good food and there are crafts and there's singing and there's bird training. I mean, there's just wonderful stuff at a Renaissance fair. And there was a woman who made fairy gardens. And I went over and I fell in love with the art of it. And I immediately went to a garden store not far from me. And it was packed with fairy figurines and things like that. And I picked up an entire basket worth of goods. And I came home and I made my first fairy garden. And I must have 30 or so.
Once you start on the path of fairy gardens, it's just...
Fairy doors, you mentioned fairy doors. I love fairy doors because they open that world of possibility. What's behind them? I was reading an article about a woman who created fairy doors for her daughter, and she would put little messages behind them. She would type them up in tiny little fairy kind of writing on the computer and then stick them behind. And her daughter believes in fairies because who else could write those tiny messages?
I love that so much.
This believer, and her mother saying, oh, gee, have I done something bad? But not really.
No.
Something to dream and hope in as a girl.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that idea of adding that little touch of magic in the world, especially right now, is so important. I had a similar story with my niece. My niece had a little fairy door that my sister actually got for her for Christmas one year. And the fairy would come and leave little presents and notes like that at her door. And she would write notes back to the fairy. And she told the fairy that she really appreciated the visits, but please don't come into her room at night. That was like her boundary. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, please, because then you're a gremlin.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm seeing in the comments that most people are saying some people devour books in one day. 3 to 4 days seems to be, average, but 1 to 2 days. Leah says if somebody would let her, she'd do it all day, but usually 3 to 4 days. So there you go. That just tells you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And readers are readers. They want another book to go when the one is done.
Right.
It's not like you can go weeks and weeks in between. Now, as writers, you and I both know we don't get as much free time to read as we want because we always have deadlines and we have books to write. But during these last 4 months, I have made it a dedication every night at 7 o'clock to sit down for an hour and read. And I've finished more books than I have in a long, long time. Just giving myself that hour, that pleasure, sitting and back in March, it was by the fireplace. Now it's out on the patio with, birds tweeting and everything else. But it's nice. It calms me. Reading calms me.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Do you have a hard time reading if you're like deep into writing a new manuscript yourself? I find that I sometimes that's where I get hung up because I don't want somebody else's voice to come through.
Yeah, you know what? My voice is my voice, and I can read all sorts of mysteries and not pick up somebody's voice. I might say, "Ooh, that was a good turn of phrase,"
Yeah.
and so I'll write it down. I won't use it specifically. I had somebody way back when in one of my critique groups, and excuse me, I've got a little scratch here. Okay,
No worries.
so rude. Anyway, she was in our critique group, and she got very, very upset. If she's watching, I'm really sorry. Very upset that we all used the word cloak in our books. One of us had used the word cloak, and it was like, I'm sorry, but cloak of darkness, cloak of this, cloak of that. It's not a patented phrase. You can't have that one,
Right.
But there are times when I read other books and I say, oh, I like how she said that. How can I say that and bring that to life with my words? I do read a lot of thrillers and suspense when I'm writing cozy mystery, because that way I won't bring in the suspense into, that kind of writing into my cozy. And then when I'm writing a suspense, which I also write, I will read my cozies.
Oh, smart.
They won't intermix. So that's sort of how I break it up.
Oh, that makes sense. I tend to not read mysteries if I'm writing a mystery. I read everything else, and then when I'm in between books, then I just like devour all the mysteries at once. It's like binge mystery reading.
Got it.
Okay, so let's get to, I asked you to come up with 5, now I got to move my hands this way, 5 things you want to share with readers today. Okay, so what is your number 1?
Okay, number 1 is imagination. I think it's really, when you're going to read something like a paranormal, a magical mystery, you have to allow your imagination to be childlike. You have to open up the possibility. I mean, we already open up the possibility that you're going to kill a body in every single book, right?
Right.
So that's suspending disbelief. When you go to something where it's magical and you have a fairy, this fairy is a sidekick. So, you have to open up your imagination. I mean, you probably as a child believed in the tooth fairy. You might have believed in Santa, depending on your religion. You might, even without your religion, you might have believed in Santa. How about Puxatawny Phil? Does he really exist? No. So we open up our imagination to allow that kind of energy into us. And I think that to read any kind of magical book, you have to allow that imagination to be somewhat childlike.
I love that. And of course, that's going to resonate with readers because we all kind of want that escape. I think that's why we seek out cozies in particular.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Okay, before we get to number 2, Leah has a question for you. She wants to know, who do you like to read?
Who do I like to read? Well, number 1, I love to read your books. I love the bake shop books.
I know that we could just have a mutual love fest forever. I love the cheese shop.
And I read Krista Davis. So when it's cozies, all right, I read Krista Davis. I read Ginger Bolton. I read Peg Cochran. I read Alison Brooke. I read Cleo Coyle. I read all the authors that are on Mystery Lover's Kitchen because actually they've become friends. I read Jen McKinley. I read Kate Carlisle. Need I go on?
That's perfect.
Then when I get to suspense, it's a whole different slew of authors. So, but those are, that's where I get my cozy juice. Juliet Blackwell, Darlene Ryan, Sophie Kelly is Darlene Ryan, so I read her. There are a lot.
I know. So many books. So
little time.
I know. I was going to say, or right now it feels like a lot of time. Okay, moving on. What is your number 2?
Okay, number 2 is Fiona. So Fiona is a righteous fairy. Now, as an author, I was allowed to create the fairy world I wanted to create. There are books on fairies, and there are probably going to be a number of people who believe in fairies who are going to say I'm wrong to have created what I created. But I created 4 levels of fairies. And there are righteous fairies, there are nurturing fairies. So you see what I'm saying. So she's a righteous fairy, and as a righteous fairy, she has to solve problems for humans. She was an imp back, like I said, in fairy camp, fairy world. And so the queen fairy booted her out and said, you'd better get your act together if you're going to get your adult wings. She needs to get 3 sets of adult wings. And by the end of the first book, because she helps Courtney solving this problem, Courtney is a suspect in the crime, it helps her start to get the buds of her first adult wings. So it's just, she's a fun, lovely, lively character. She's not too young. She's not a little thing like that. She's more like a sassy teenager, you know, with grit. So I want people to know Fiona and love her.
I mean, how can you not with that description right there? Come on.
I love her.
How did you come up with the concept of a righteous fairy? Like, that's so brilliant, just in and of itself. Huh?
You know, I was reading about fairies, and I know that there are earth fairies and there are water fairies, and there are different levels of fairies within nature itself. But I wanted my fairies to have very specific rules and regulations that in the human world. And so in order to get that, I figured that she had to have a purpose, not just be an earth fairy or a water fairy and flit about. She needed a purpose. And so a nurturer fairy is to bring someone's heart back into balance, which gives me shivers when I say that, but you know, it's sort of nice. And the righteous fairy is one that has to, you know, do the law. She has to get it together, and she has to help those humans. Humans don't have it too bad, because the fairy world wants to help humans all the time. That's how good they are.
I love it. And I think from a writing perspective, you're brilliant, because now in future books, there can be other levels to explore, right?
Right. Exactly right. So yeah, I that's one. I know someone just rang my doorbell, so my dog is probably going to bark because he doesn't like intruders. Okay. It's all right. It's all right. He's going to go away wherever it was.
How dare you get a package?
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I want them to take away with Fiona. You know, is she has rules and she has regulations, and she's going to sometimes try to break the rules, and she has to keep being pulled back in line.
That's awesome.
So she's a mentor, yeah.
Okay, tell us what's your number 3.
Okay, number 3 is Courtney. Courtney is the main character, Courtney Kelly. The reason I want people to take away Courtney, okay, is because Courtney, like any protagonist, has heart. She loves her family, she loves her friends, and everything else. But Courtney has redeveloped her life at this point. When her mother died when she was 10, she followed the rules, nose to grindstone, did everything that her dad wanted. Her dad was a former cop who, after a knee injury, went out and opened a landscaping company, because that was his second love, with gardening. And so she, like Dad, did the gardening, but did it to the rule, by the book. Boom, 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 boom. Went to college, got the agricultural degree, came out and was doing landscaping and not loving it. And I really wanted a character who loved her new life. And when her Nana dies and leaves her just a little bit of money, it gives her the courage, and going to the Renaissance Fair herself, went and saw fairy gardens and felt inspired. She comes out of that and she says, I'm going to open this fairy garden shop. I'm going to take a leap of faith. And that's what I want. I want people to understand that taking a leap of faith is not always easy. And Courtney embodies that. And it's not going to be easy, because there will be people against her in the town. There are non-believers. She sees fairies.
Come on.
Fairies, come on, right? She's nuts. So there's going to be friction by taking this leap of faith. So I think that Courtney, I want people to take away that a leap of faith takes courage.
That's a good life lesson. And I mean, I think that's one of the things with cozies, because we're writing, you know, these light mysteries that have funny, punny titles sometimes. But I love that there can be these lessons and this hint of depth under the surface, so that a reader might take away after reading your book, oh, I could take a little leap of faith myself.
Right. Well, and you know, this is too, we do sometimes go in with themes, or sometimes, I don't know about you, but I'll be writing my outline, getting ready to go and everything else, and I'll realize, oh, I've got a theme going here. This is all about mothers. This is all about mother love. And that just starts to weave itself through, and Courtney is almost being a mother to Fiona. And Courtney lost her mother, but her mother introduced her to fairies. So, all of these things that come around with mother. And then there are other characters in the story that have mother things going on. So it's like, oh, mother theme, mother love. I get it. And that just comes. It's not something I design. And that's what I love about the magic of writing, is when something like that comes to you and you drink it in and you put it back on the page for a reader. I don't know. We're lucky that way.
It's so true. And it's so strange because, before I was really writing myself, I would hear writers like you talk about that and think, does that really happen? And it does. It happens all the time when you open yourself up to that creative process. And I find that what comes through at that level is always way better than my initial idea of what I was going to sketch out.
And so you see, there are fairies.
Yeah, obviously. We're proving it today.
There are writing fairies.
That's right. Ruth says, thanks for introducing me to fairy gardens. Oh, there you go. I love it. Okay, moving on. What is your number 4?
Okay. Number 4 is fairy gardens. Okay, I really want people to understand how simple they can be. It doesn't take lots of money. It doesn't take a huge space in your house. You don't need one big tree to put a fairy garden door on. You can have a little pot in a little apartment. I'm going to show you something. You can make a fairy garden teacup.
So cute.
No planting. You don't have to have a green thumb. You've got this pretty little princess with her prince behind her.
Hold it up a little more. There you go. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. And she's not seeing him. She doesn't realize that what she's dreaming of, which is once upon a time, that's what the little book says over here. Can I drive in there? There we go. Okay. It doesn't take a green thumb to make a fairy garden. So that's one of those things that I really wanted to share. It's they're small, compact. You can do them in an hour or 2. You can shop online. I've got all sorts of places online where I shop. So I put a PDF on my website on the fairy garden page so that people can go there and say, oh, she bought it at Etsy and she bought it at myfairygardenworld.com. It's those kinds of things. But I want people to realize that they can enjoy this art as a one-off, as a little thing. They can give it as a gift. They can do a fairy garden party. I mean, there are ways to find the joy of fairy gardening, and there are lots of tips. I do give tips through the book because I've learned a lot, sort of like when I was writing cheese and sort of when I was writing cookbook nooks. I learned a lot about cheese and I learned a lot about cookbooks. Well, now I know a lot about fairy gardening. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I can direct people to experts. So it fills your soul to have a little craft. That's the craft in the book.
Lillian says, I have a black thumb. I can only grow weeds. I think you could make Daryl's teacup. I feel like you can, right?
I think you can make a teacup. I do. And the most important thing in a fairy garden, and this is something that Courtney will say in the book, and that is to get some kind of theme that you want, some kind of action or story. So if you think of it as almost dollhousing, right? You need 2 characters to get some kind of story going. In that one, it was the little girl dreaming, but she didn't realize that reality was right behind her. So those are just little stories that I think that if you come up with something like that, you can put a fairy garden together.
I love that. You're inspiring me. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to make a bake shop themed fairy garden somehow.
I've got lists for you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to numero 5. Okay. 5.
It takes a village to make a cozy. It just does. I mean, we're not isolated. When we write cozies, we write towns. And in those towns, I loved your picture, by the way, with the cop.
Oh,
just like your cop. I loved that picture.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
So cute. Anyway, back to subject. We create towns, and in that town, we populate them with characters. And Sometimes, I mean, I've heard often, oh, cozies have so many characters. Well, yeah, because we've created a town. We've got our core set of characters who might be the best friend, the father, the mother, the whatever. And that's the core that you need to know. But there will be in every cozy 4 or 5 suspects, and they probably won't be in another cozy because if they were, then you're not going to think that they were suspects in the first one. There's going to be a victim who dies, not coming back. So we come up with all these characters, and I would like people, when they read cozies, to understand that we're populating a town. In this one, I created Carmel. Like I said, is filled with courtyards. And I created a courtyard. It's a fictional courtyard. The courtyard is not in Carmel. Do not go to Carmel and look for Cypress and Ivy courtyard. It's not there. But I created it so I could create a little community, a smaller community that happened to be her community. Her best friend owns an art gallery near her shop. And there's a bakery near her shop. And there's a pet grooming store right across from her shop. These are the core people that will revolve in her life. But there are others. There are customers. There's Dad. There's the cop. There's the other cop. There are people that you have to populate a cozy with. And I want readers, especially if they're coming new to cozies, to accept that as a reality, that you're coming in. When you watch Murder, She Wrote, if you watch Murder, She Wrote, she has her core people. All right, she has the cop, and she has the mayor, and she has her nephew, who seems to be always in trouble. But besides that, there are 17,000 other people in it. They're just called Cop 1, Cop 2, because so if we're not reading it, they don't need names. Did we freeze for a moment?
We did, but you're back.
Yeah, we froze for a moment. Okay, we're back.
We're back.
So anyway, that's my thought. It takes a village to make a cozy.
It really does. That's such a good point. For anyone who doesn't know, because Daryl referenced Murder, She Wrote, I believe that you have a connection to Murder, She Wrote. Do you want to share?
Before I was a writer, I was an actress. And so I had a nice little part on Murder, She Wrote. I had very dark hair. I was very mean, a very, very mean neighbor. And I remember somebody calling, this is a little on the funny side, but someone called my husband from a hotel and he said, "I'm watching your wife on TV." It turned out he was watching Murder, She Wrote.
I love that.
Anyway, I had a nice career, and I gave it up when my husband moved across country for his career. And I did theater at that time, but what I did mostly is I focused on my writing. And that's when I became a dedicated writer.
And a prolific writer. You touched on it a little bit, but you have multiple series. We have The Cheese Shop, we have the Cookbook Nooks, you write thrillers, the new series. I mean, yeah, you're always writing.
Yeah, I'm always writing. I do, I love it. I have a lot of time on my hands lately. There were a couple of series. When I first started writing, I started out as a suspense writer. And I didn't get those published. They went on the shelves. They were my learning tools. Mm-hmm. And when I first got published, I found an agent who loved my suspense, but she said, "I can't sell this one. What else can you write?" And it was like, write another book, write another book. And finally she said, "Do you think Krista Davis said, cozies are selling. How about writing a cozy?" So I asked this agent if I could write a cozy proposal, and she said yes, and she liked my proposal, but I can't sell this one. And I wrote another one, and she said, "I like this, but I can't sell this one." Oh. And I was ready to give up. I had a suspense going out to agents, trying to find a suspense agent. And the agent, this one that liked my writing, called me, and she said, "Do you think you could write about cheese?" And I said, "Sure."
Great.
What? And I'd heard about this. It was called a work for hire. And Berkeley, the publisher, had come up with the idea of cheese, having a cheese shop set in Ohio, not Wisconsin, not even California, where we've got happy cows here. It was set in Ohio because the publisher came from Ohio, the person that came up with the idea. She wanted it set in Ohio. And I had 3 weeks to write 3 chapters with what they had given me. They'd given me some basics, some characters and what they wanted to happen and who died. So I wrote those 3 chapters, and I worked and I worked and I worked on them, and I had it edited, and I had Krista read them, and they came back to me, and I finally sent them off, and Krista warned me, and she said, it could take them 6 to 7 weeks before the agent gets back to you. And she called me the next day, and she said, I love these pages, I'm sending them on. And she warned, it could take them 6 to 7 weeks before, we get back to you. And by the end of the week, I had a 3-book contract. So obviously I could write about cheese. And that got me started in the cozy world. And from there, I branched out. I was Avery Ames to write those. And then I pitched my own series, The Cookbook Nook Mysteries. Had I said it out loud, I would not have named it that. It's very hard to say. But The Cookbook Nook Mysteries. And that was because I'd gone into a culinary bookstore and I fell in love. And I said to Krista, because she was with me, I said, don't steal this idea. I'm writing this series, and she already had 3 going. She did not want to take another one on. And I pitched that, and I got that series under my own name. And from that point, I just became Daryl Wood Gerber. But
That's
then
awesome.
I went back to my suspense along the way. And I self-published 2, and then I've just done I'm doing a series through a small publisher, and the 3rd of that will come out at the end of the week. So
exciting.
Bring on.
2 things. Claire, who's joining us from France, said that she just watched all of Murder, She Wrote while in quarantine, which is awesome. And Rihanna wants to know about the French Bistro series. Are there going to be any more?
Oh, I am so sad about this for everybody. Here's the deal. That was bought by a company that they put it out in hardcover. And I don't know, do your books come out in hardcover first?
My beer series does, and it's a lot. It's hard. It's because it's a big price point.
It's harder. It's really, really harder to sell that book and get buyers to, even when they're discounted to $17, people don't want to seem to, pay for that hardcover. They do it so that they can get them into libraries, because libraries love hardcover books.
Right.
Well, understand, libraries in the last few years have been downsizing. And though they're willing to take a risk on a new author, possibly not. And so when it came to, and they only bought 2 in the series. Do we have to wrap this up soon?
Oh no, I'm being told I'm scooting the wrong way. Sorry, I got too close to you. I was cutting you off.
And so there were 2 in the series. And shush.
Oh, is that Sparky? We all know Sparky.
Come here. Let me show you. Oh. Say hi to everybody.
Oh, look at that face. Come on.
Hi, Bud. Anyway, so there were 2 in the series. They published paper for the first book, and that was great. That sold well, but they didn't do paperback in the second book. And I've been trying to negotiate to get it out in paper, because if I can get it out in paper, then I could take the series and start book 3, 4, and 5 if I wanted to through another publisher. But because they're holding on to those rights, I'm sort of, stuck. And now, because I do have the Cookbook Nook Mysteries, and I do have the suspense, and I do have the Fairy Garden Mysteries, sadly, the French bistros have sort of, fallen to the wayside for me. And I fear that I would lose all my readers, because by the time I finally got another book out, it'd be 3 years since the last one was published. So I love writing them. And, we'll cross our fingers. Maybe after this whole virtual mess is going on, maybe the publisher will finally say, yes, you can have the rights. And if I do, I would probably then try to write another 1 or 2. Because I did have a storyline.
Ready.
I had a storyline coming.
I know, and that's the reality of writing life too. It happens that way. Sometimes you can write the best book and something, goes haywire, or sometimes publishing houses downsize different departments, or they end up with too many cozies. There are all kinds of issues like that.
That's what happened with the Cheese Shop Mysteries. Is that Berkeley Publishing said, we're downsizing, and there were 7 in the series, and they finally said, we're not taking it on. I said, can I have the rights? They said no.
I know.
And if I can't have the rights, I can't take it to another publisher and publish more. And it's very disheartening, but publishers do rule the world.
They really do, for better or for worse, right? Okay, are you ready for my 5 questions for you?
Oh, okay, yes.
Are you nervous?
No.
You should be.
Why?
No, I'm kidding. They're going to be hard hitting. No.
Okay, but I don't get that nervous.
No, I know. I'm teasing. Okay.
Or when I'm nervous.
Question number 1.
Yeah.
What's the most unexpected thing that you found about being a mystery writer?
Oh, that's a good question. The most unexpected thing is that there are tons of us. I mean, there are tons of us, and our deadlines matter. And I can't tell you how many friends say, I can't talk to you right now, I've got a deadline. Right now, I've got a deadline. And a number of us are writing, not just, and one series itself won't make a star of you. You do have to have more in your hopper. So that's also, you think, oh, I've got this one series, I'm riding high, I am going to sell like James Patterson, and it doesn't happen. And, it's like, okay, so it's hard work, but it's, like I said, I find it so enjoyable that it's not that hard. But that's the one thing. It's how much output you have to put out in order to keep your fans coming to you.
Yeah, that's good.
Because they're voracious.
They are.
When's the second one coming out? What's a year from now? Oh. It's just, oh gosh, I got to keep you interested for a year.
So true. Okay, number 2 is, what's the biggest myth you think that readers have about mystery writing?
Jen McKinley is going to kill me. No, that's not the myth. She is going to kill me. I think that readers think that we're all millionaires. Jen McKinley told me at a panel one time, because I was on with Kate Shelton and brand new, and Jen was seasoned by at least a year more than us. Paige is another one I read. And Jen said, and Paige and I went into details about what we earned and how we earned it and everything else. And Jen grabbed us by the collar and we came out and she said, never, never again. You just say, we're millionaires. Next question. It's hard to make money as an author unless you're James Patterson or you're writing with James Patterson. So
true.
Put out those books. You have to, have a really good agent who will negotiate a really good deal for you in order to get more than that, because some publishers think that we're a dime a dozen. So, that's one of those, I think, oh my God, they've got so much money because they're fabulous authors.
Well, me too, obviously. Okay, question number 3. What's the best advice that you can give to anyone who wants to write a mystery?
Don't give up. Persevere. Be courageous. Keep going. The moment you don't write that book, you will not write that book. So you have to finish the book. Get a critique group. I know it's the one thing. You said the one thing, but this is all.
No, you can keep going.
Get a critique group. It cannot be your mother. It has to be other writers that write your genre, or readers that read your genre. But usually it should be other writers, because you'll, number one, get tips. It'll help you get into the community. Sisters in Crime has a number of local chapters as well as online chapters. You can find critique groups through there. Some of them are good, some of them not. So you have to be, but finding a critique group, even through your library, to find somebody that gives you input on your material. There are lots of independent editors that are out there. Ask questions, ask authors questions. Who did you use as an independent editor to help me edit my work? Because when you send that work to an agent, you wanted it to be the best work it could possibly be. You don't want him to put it down the first page because you misspelled a word. And if you do it on the first page, you're going to have 70 more in the next 70 pages. And when the phone's ringing, it might be important, pick it up, but most often it's not.
I love it. It could be, you never know. You could be getting a new book contract right now, Daryl.
Yeah, they send me an email or a text. That's just how it works.
No, you know who's calling right now? I'm telling you, it's Jen McKinley. You're dead.
I know, I'm dead. I'm surprised Jen isn't writing a note down there going, Daryl.
We Okay, question number 4.
Okay.
If you had to pick one celebrity you would absolutely die to see reading your book, who would it be? And here's my thing. Let's say if we could fly right now. Wait, I didn't hear you, sorry.
Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, you already knew. I was going to say you board the plane, somebody's reading it. It's Reese. Okay, Reese.
It's Reese. She's got a book club. She makes things into movies. She does light. She does dark. You know what? I would like Reese Witherspoon to read my material. She would love my material, but getting my material to Reese is like really hard. There is, I did send something, get this, March 1st to an actress who does a lot of Hallmark movies and is producing things, and I got it to her and her publisher, her manager, and then COVID happened. So there's been no response because we're not making movies right now. We're not making TV shows. Nobody's going to say, oh, I want to pick that up and do that in 2 years or 3 years. I mean, they might be, but isn't that interesting is, just at the juxtaposition of when you can get something in the door.
Finally.
But it wasn't Reese. But I would like to see Reese reading my work.
That's a good pick. I'm down with that.
Who would you like?
I think Jennifer Garner. I want to see Jennifer Garner.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, on a plane because she's she has her pretend baking show, and I kind of visualize her as Sloane, my character from my beer series. So,
There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jennifer Garner.
Me too. She's so great.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, question 5.
Okay.
What's the perfect food and or drink to pair with, well, I say your new release?
With my new release.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Fairy Potion number 9 is really lovely. And I haven't made it up yet, but I will, and I'll put it on Mystery Lover's Kitchen.
Smart.
Otherwise, champagne goes with everything. As does tea.
Tea.
A nice, light herbal tea would be lovely pairing with a Fairy Garden Mystery.
Or a glass of bubbly champagne.
A glass of champagne goes with everything. So, and I learned this when I was doing the cheese shop mysteries, because I would read all these things about cheese and everything else, and what pairs with this and what pairs with that. And because they had a wine shop as well in the cheese shop, and I way back when I catered and I almost sold wine, so I became knowledgeable about wine. But pairing it with cheese, what goes with a good cheddar? You need this kind of wine to really, hold up to the flavor. But there was always this one woman that wrote about cheese said, but champagne goes with everything. And it's like, okay.
Okay. This is information, important information you're learning today. Champagne goes with anything. You heard it from Daryl. I love it. Okay, well, I want to open it up to any other questions. I know there were some, and I probably missed them because it goes so fast. But if you have any last-minute burning questions that you're dying for Daryl to answer, put them in the comments. And while we're waiting to see if any last comments and questions come through, tell us what's next for you.
Well, let's see. Okay, so the second in this series has been turned in. It comes out next year. It's a glimmer of truth. So, yeah, glimmer of truth. And then I have the third, like I said, in the Aspen Adams Novels of Suspense. That's coming out in November. Title to be determined, so that hasn't been determined. I'm working on the outline for the 10th Cookbook Nook. The 9th came out in April. That was called Shredding the Evidence. And so the 10th comes out next year, and that will be Wining and Dying.
That's good.
So there will be wine in that. and I've got a thriller that I'm getting ready to outline. So I'm just sort of, I've got a lot of picks in the fire, little pokers in the fire, and I'm keeping really busy, but I'm excited about all the different things that are coming out. Right now, I'm completely focused on PR. You asked what's one of the hardest things for us to do, and one of the things that we didn't realize getting into the business we'd have to do. So much PR. And thank heaven for social media. You can do it from the virtual, living room or wherever you are. But there's so much to do in order to get your fans engaged involved. For you to do this, is brilliant. I hate you for it because it is brilliant and I'd like to steal it from you. But I do live chats. In fact, I'm doing a live chat tomorrow making a fairy garden.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so hopefully people will come to my Facebook page and they'll see the notice that I've got a live chat tomorrow. And I'm going to take them out into my garden and show them how I'm going to make a little fairy garden with items that I got with my mask on. I went to the garden shop and I bought a few plants, succulents and things like that. And I already had the fairies I wanted to use. So I will show them how I make a fairy garden.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay, we have a couple questions before we wrap up here. Genevieve wants to know, who was your character on Murder, She Wrote?
Oh, I can't remember my name anymore, I'm sorry to say. I was just a really mean neighbor who I accused, not Carrie Garr, I accused the woman, sorry, I'm forgetting her name right now, her son of stealing my son's bicycle. It was very nasty. But I had a nice scene with Angela Lansbury, and she was the most gracious actress. She stood on the other side of the camera, even though she could have gone to her makeup trailer, and rested. She stood on the other side to deliver lines so that I would be looking properly at her. She knew I was young and new, and because I was young and new back then. And I had to be looking, at the right direction to be looking at her. If I was looking at the script girl, I would have been down like this. So, she was a professional. It was lovely. But
That's
I
awesome.
can't remember my name. Carol, maybe. I mean, it was a one. It was fun. It was Simon Color Me Dead was the name of the show.
Love it. Okay, Jess wants to know, do you still get nervous writing a book, or does it go away with time?
Sorry, Jess. It doesn't go away. I get nervous when I'm outlining and it feels good and everything else, just like lovely. But then you get to what I call, my husband used to call the muddy middle. And you get to the muddy middle where you have to get all the suspects in, all the clues in, all the red herrings in, where they're fitting in, and you're thinking, oh, it's so obvious. That's the nervous part, is when you're reading it, because it looks so obvious to us as writers, because we have seen it, we've massaged it, we've looked at this material over and over and over again. And I tell you, that I have to put a book down for almost a month before I read it in its final form, so I can sort of forget what I wrote. One of the joys is when I pick up my book and I'm reading a sentence and it brings me to tears or laughter, and I tricked myself into it. So that's one of the joys of writing.
I totally agree. I think getting distance from your work is so important, because you can't see where it's falling apart until you come back to it with some fresh eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, last but not least, Arzani from Arizona says, did you use a stage name for your acting?
No, I was Daryl Wood. Well, let's see. I was Daryl Lynn Wood in my first year of acting. Then I just became Daryl Wood. Got rid of the Lynn because they kept thinking I was from Texas, and I wasn't. I had an interview. Daryl Lynn, where are you from in Texas? And I said, San Francisco. Took away the Lynn. I became Daryl Wood. It was easier. And then when I got married, I became Daryl Wood Gerber. So if someone were to go on IMDb and look me up, all those names would come through. But I did lots of commercials. I made my living as a commercial actress. I sold Wonder Bread and Milky Way and Diet Pepsi and all sorts of good stuff. I made good money as an actress. I was a millionaire.
Right. That's
a commercial actress.
Totally.
And TV and stage. I did a couple of touring shows when I was on stage. So those were fun. Some musicals, because I sing and dance. And then I did Murder, She Wrote in Dallas and Heart to Heart, but they were small parts. They were not breaking me out of where I needed to go. So that's when I started writing. I was going to create a screenplay that I could star in or be second fiddle in to Julia Roberts or Meg Ryan.
Yeah, why not?
And then they decided to turn to drama.
Okay, because everybody is so brilliant on here, Arzani just found that you were Martha Summers. That's who you were.
Oh, Martha Summers. That's right. I was Martha. Right. That's who I was. Thank you, Arzani.
That's
now,
the
I
best.
can't forget that because it sounds so much like Martha Stewart.
Yeah, that's good.
Thanks, Arzani. Woohoo!
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Daryl, for joining me here on our little live chat today. It's been so fun.
This was great. You are wonderful. You're made for this. So this is great.
Right back at you. Thanks for all that you do for the mystery world. And for anyone who wants more information about Daryl, you could go join in Fairy Garden Making tomorrow. I'll have links once I post this on the feed. Oh yes, and don't forget Sprinkling of Murder. I will have links to all of your Facebook page and everything too.
Thanks.
All right. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
For everybody else, before we go, I just want to give you a little heads up that the next live is going to be Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am going to do a primer of the Sloane Krause mysteries because we're going to get ready, in case you missed it, to do our next story collaboration together. I've launched a private Facebook group. I know a lot of you have probably already joined, but if you haven't, be sure to do that. I will include a link in this video for that as well. We're going to do it in a private group this time just because it's going to be a lot easier to share. And you will know for sure that you're getting a chance to vote on everything. But in advance of that, that's going to start. Your first question's going to go out next Wednesday. We're going to model it just like we did a brunch with death. So we're going to start for probably 5 to 7 days of questions like who's our sleuth going to be and where is everything going to be set, time of day, or not time of day, season. Apparently I can't talk anymore. Anyway, so Tuesday, I'm going to give you a brief overview of Sloane Krause and my fictional take on Leavenworth. I've said this before, but you don't have to be a beer lover to participate in this story collaboration, and you do not have had, I really can't talk today. You don't need to have read the series. There are 3 books in the series so far. You don't need to have read them to participate, although if you have, that's great. You can find them at a bookstore or at a library because they're in hardcover too. But Tuesday night, we'll have our regular live, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the series just so it's fresh in your head before we start our next collaboration together. I'm super excited to do it. I had so much fun with a brunch with death, and I'm about ready to share that out with the group too. Making it into a PDF and an ebook for you. So that is coming soon too. Thanks so much for joining me for our new and improved 5 Things Friday. I was super excited to get to have Daryl on, and I have lots more author guests in store. In fact, I think probably every other Friday I'll have an author guest, and then we'll do fun trivia and other things mixed in. So with that in mind, have a great weekend. Happy reading.